There is something powerful about choosing excellence. Not perfection, not comparison, but excellence. And today, I want to talk to you about a mindset that doesn't just belong in classrooms, it belongs in every corner of your life. It's the A+ student mentality. This isn't about grades. This isn't about how many gold stars or trophies you collected in school. This is about how you show up in your life. It's about commitment. It's about resilience. It's about the quiet power of choosing to rise again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. An A+ student mentality is not inherited, it is built. It is forged in the fire of setbacks, shaped by late nights, and strengthened by the decision to keep showing up even when no one else is watching. It's about learning, not performing, growing, not impressing, becoming, not proving. Because an A+ mindset is not just for classrooms. It's for dreamers, fighters, believers, and survivors. It's for those who carry scars, who've walked through darkness, and still choose to shine. So let's talk about the 5 cornerstones of this mentality. Let's rebuild your perspective. And let's remind your soul of the power that lives inside of you. Relentless curiosity is, your superpower curiosity is not a weakness, it is a compass. It points you toward growth even when the world around you seems still. When life places you in a box, curiosity becomes the tool that pokes holes in the ceiling so light can come in. It takes courage to ask a question, especially when silence feels safer. But the moment you ask, when you dare to not know, it's the moment you give yourself permission to grow beyond what's comfortable. Some people wear confidence like armor, afraid to reveal their uncertainty. But those who allow themselves to wonder, to seek, to question, those are the ones who expand. They don't fear ignorance. They fight it with every question they ask. The most brilliant minds were once curious children. They didn't have answers, they had questions. And they held on to those questions with their whole hearts. Even when people laughed or dismissed them, curiosity does not guarantee ease. It leads you to places where answers are scarce and assumptions are challenged. But that is exactly where transformation begins. In the chaos of not knowing, you begin to discover who you really are. When you choose to be curious, you choose to remain teachable. Life becomes your classroom, and every soul you encounter becomes a teacher. You listen, not to respond, but to understand. There is power in saying, I don't know, but I want to learn. That phrase carries humility, strength, and the willingness to stretch beyond yesterday's limits. It invites others to join you, to teach you, to grow with you. Even in pain, curiosity asks, what is this here to teach me? It transforms struggle into sacred learning. It turns suffering into soul work. It shifts your focus from why me to what now. Curiosity breaks generational cycles. It dares to ask, why has it always been this way, and what if I did it differently? It is the rebel spirit of growth, cloaked in gentleness. No one changes the world by knowing it all. The world changes when someone admits they don't and commits to learning anyway. That is how breakthroughs are born. Not through certainty, but through seeking. It's easy to pretend to know everything in a world that rewards appearances. But the soul doesn't evolve through pretending. It evolves through truth, through the silent questions asked in the dark. And sometimes, curiosity leads you to unlearn before you learn. It invites you to dismantle the narratives you were taught, the lies you inherited, and the limits you believed were real. True power is not in the answers you give, but in the questions you dare to ask. Not the loud, impressive ones, but the quiet, honest ones that come from a deep place within. Your curiosity is not a weakness. It's the sign that your spirit is alive, that you're still evolving, that you haven't given up on what more life might hold. And that, in itself, is an extraordinary kind of power. Discipline is the silent hero. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare or hashtags. It shows up in quiet moments when no one's watching and you still choose to try. That choice, repeated daily, becomes your strength. It's the small decision to get up when your bed feels safest. The choice to practice even when progress is invisible. The decision to speak kindly to yourself when your mind wants to retreat. That's discipline. Many chase motivation, waiting for inspiration to strike. But motivation is fleeting. It burns brightly and disappears. Discipline stays. It waits with you in the silence. It whispers, "Do it anyway." The most powerful form of discipline is built in stillness. When everything in you says stop, discipline is what says continue, not for them but for you. Because your commitment is sacred. Discipline doesn't make you cold or rigid. It gives structure to your dreams. It creates containers for your passion so your purpose doesn't evaporate into chaos. It's not restrictive, it's refining. It's not just about habits. It's about self-respect. When you are disciplined, you tell yourself, I matter. My future matters. My growth matters. You don't just dream about it, you prove it through action. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up, when everything inside you is tired. And that's when discipline becomes your rescue. It carries you when your willpower is gone. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about consistency. You don't need to be excellent every day, you just need to keep showing up. Over time, your tiny steps become massive transformations. The world celebrates outcomes, but the real victory lies in the process. In the moments where quitting looked easier, but you stayed anyway, that's where your character is carved. When people wonder how you got so far, they won't see the early mornings, the quiet sacrifices, or the late night doubts. They'll only see the result, but you'll know the truth. You built it with discipline. You don't need an audience to be committed. Discipline is most powerful when it's private. When no one claps for your progress, and you keep going regardless. That is integrity in motion. Some will call it obsession, others will call it unnecessary. But only you will understand how much it took to stay devoted to something your soul needed. That sacred reason is yours alone. Discipline teaches you patience. It reminds you that nothing meaningful grows overnight. It trusts the process even when there are no visible signs of progress. That kind of faith changes everything. Every time you choose discipline, you rewire your future. You shift from reacting to creating. You move from chaos to clarity. You build a legacy that speaks long after you're gone. And perhaps most importantly, discipline allows you to keep your promises to yourself. And there is no greater healing than becoming someone you can trust again. Feedback is fuel, not fire. Feedback can feel like fire, sharp, burning, and personal. But if you shift your mindset, you realize that fire can purify, it can refine, it can make you stronger than ever before. Most people run from correction because they equate it with rejection. But the truth is, when someone offers feedback, they are offering insight. You don't have to agree with everything, but you can listen. Growth begins when ego takes a step back. When instead of defending your current self, you make space to become your future self. Feedback helps shape that transition if you let it. It's not about pleasing others or becoming a version of you that earns approval. It's about evolving, sharpening, and discovering blind spots you never saw before. Feedback opens your eyes. There is wisdom in being able to separate your worth from your work. You can accept criticism without collapsing. You can learn without losing your identity. That is emotional strength. The people who grow the fastest are not the ones who always succeed, but the ones who allow others to speak into their journey. They don't fear being corrected, they fear being stagnant. Sometimes feedback reveals what you were too afraid to admit to yourself. It's not always easy, it's rarely comfortable, but discomfort is a sign that change is happening. Feedback isn't always delivered kindly, but even harsh words can carry truth if you're willing to sift through the pain. You become wise when you can extract gold from even the roughest voice. If your dream is to become excellent, then your soul must be open to refinement. Feedback is not the enemy of confidence, it's the builder of it. Each time you adjust, you rise. You don't need to take in every word, but you do need the discernment to know when something is meant to grow you. Feedback is a mirror, not always flattering, but always revealing. Some of the most pivotal shifts in your life will come after hard conversations. Feedback may sting in the moment, but what matters is what you do with it. That's where the real transformation begins. Even silence can be feedback. When the world doesn't respond to your efforts, that's information too. It's not a sign to give up, it's a nudge to reevaluate and redirect with wisdom. Don't let pride be the wall that keeps you from your next level. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the path to maturity. A heart that is open to feedback is a heart that is ready to lead. It takes strength to say, thank you for that, when your heart feels bruised. But in that moment, you are reclaiming power not from validation, but from humility and clarity. Your future self is waiting on the other side of your willingness to listen. Focus is a sacred force. Focus is not just about productivity, it is about presence. It's the ability to give your energy, your heart, and your intention to the moment in front of you without letting the noise of the world scatter your spirit. We live in a world of distractions. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, they all pull at your attention like invisible strings. But when you learn to protect your focus, you reclaim your power. Focus is saying not because you're rude or arrogant, but because your vision deserves boundaries. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone should have access to your energy. When you focus, you quiet the chaos. You make space for what actually matters. Your voice becomes clearer. Your direction becomes stronger. And your soul begins to align with its higher purpose. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. When you give your heart to too many things, you water down your impact. But when you focus, you multiply your strength. Sometimes focus looks like silence, stepping back from the noise to hear your own thoughts again. In that quiet, you find clarity. And clarity is where purpose finds its voice. You don't owe the world constant access to your mind. You are allowed to disconnect from everything so you can reconnect to yourself. That is not selfish, that is sacred. Focus requires intention. It's not automatic. You have to choose it, daily, hourly, in every small moment when you could scroll or escape or numb, but instead you come back to the task at hand. People will not always understand your silence. Your boundaries may confuse them, but you were not born to explain your peace to those committed to their noise. You were born to protect your purpose. When you focus, you don't just accomplish more, you feel deeper. You experience life with a richness that multitasking will never give you. You live in color rather than in blur. Focus gives you momentum. It turns small efforts into massive shifts. Like a river carving stone, your consistent direction begins to shape your reality moment by moment, day by day. And the more you focus, the more you realize how much you are giving away to things that did not deserve you. Your time, your thoughts, your emotions, they are not infinite. They are precious. Focus allows you to be fully present, to hear a loved one without checking your phone, to read without your mind drifting, to rest without guilt. This kind of presence is healing. The world will try to convince you that you are missing out. But what you are really missing out on is your own potential when you are distracted. You don't need everything. You just need to give your best to the right things. And sometimes, focus is the most radical form of self-love. Because it means you believe in your purpose enough to fight for it. You were never just a student. You were always becoming a legacy. An A+ student mentality is not about grades. It is not measured by gold stars or certificates or any number written on a piece of paper. It is measured by your growth, your resilience, your vision, and your heart. It is the fire that refuses to die, even when the world goes dark. It is the whisper inside you that says, I will rise again, even with tear-stained cheeks and trembling hands. You see, life doesn't hand out report cards for courage. There are no exams for compassion. No GPA for how many times you showed up when everything inside you screamed to quit. But those are the real measures of excellence. That is what separates those who simply learn from those who live their learning. You are not defined by where you started. You are defined by how deeply you believed in the possibility of more. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present, to grow through what you go through, to hold on to your vision, even in seasons of silence and solitude. This mentality means you choose discipline when distraction feels easier. You choose consistency when comfort tries to seduce you. And in every small moment, you choose to rise above your circumstances, not because life is fair, but because your soul was never meant to stay small. You don't need applause to be valid. You don't need validation to be valuable. The A+ student mindset is built in the quiet where nobody claps, but you still show up. Where nobody watches, but you still give your best. Where nobody understands, but you still walk forward with faith. And one day, you'll look back not at the awards or the praise, but at the person you became through the struggle. You'll see someone who did not give up, who rose again, who carried vision like a lantern through the dark, and you will realize that is the true A+. That is the grade life gives to the unbreakable spirit. So carry this mindset into every chapter of your life, into relationships, into healing, into purpose, because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more courageous souls, more awakened hearts, more relentless dreamers. You are not just a student of books, you are a student of life. And if you keep showing up, keep growing, keep rising, you will not only change your life, you will light the way for others to rise too.